Hi everyone, this is your co-host and featured playwright, Greg. When we recorded this episode, we mentioned some readings of the featured play, but we didn't have the dates scheduled yet. Now we do, and so we'll share them before the episode. Repossessed will have a reading by the Pork-Filled Players in Seattle on November 1st, and by the Fresh Ink Theater in Boston on November 16th. If you're in either of these towns and want to see this play as performed by talented actors, and if you want to support two great theater companies who produce new work, please come by and see it. Also, to learn more about Greg and his playwriting, and all of his other creative projects, you can see his newly revamped website, pairofdice.com. That's pair-of-dice.com. And now, time for the show.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage. And all the men and women, merely players.
Merely players.
Merely players.
Merely players.
Boston Podcast Players.
Hi, this is Mara Palma, CEO of Boston Podcast Players. Welcome to our next episode. Maybe you've been listening to our podcast pretty regularly. Good for you. And you might be wondering, how come we've only been hearing about the two co-hosts introducing works from other playwrights, Is it because Mara and Greg are just so selfless? They're doing this to promote these worthy plays by other playwrights. Hell no. We want some stage time too, people. Okay? So the next two episodes, actually, we, the hosts, and Greg is in fact with me recording right now.
Hello.
We, the hosts, will be hogging the spotlight, talking about our plays, because we are in fact also playwrights. And so our next featured playwright is my co-host, Greg Lam. Welcome to Boston Podcast Players, Greg.
Thank you. It's so nice here.
Isn't it? I feel like we've spent a lot of time here.
Yes. It's quite the friendly setup we have.
That's right. For Boston Podcast Players, we recorded an excerpt of Greg Lam's play Repossessed. Greg, why don't you kick us off with a 5-minute summary of the play itself?
So Repossessed started off as a 10-minute play in which a married couple found out that their marriage, their happy marriage, was in fact the product of a technology company that manufactured the marriage and implanted it in their heads, new memories and new skills and even a new personality for one of them. Because of financial difficulties, they can no longer afford to have that maintained, so it has to be repossessed by the company. So that started off as a 10-minute play, and just over the next year and a half in my writing groups, I just added on different fragments and scenes from that world and that premise. Not really having a plan as to how it all fits together, but for a year and a half, I basically do present to my writing group 10 pages of 4 scenes that sort of happen in the same universe. Mm-hmm. Until I looked around and one point I realized it had enough for a full-length play, so I just sort of smushed it all together and put it together with duct tape and then called it a full-length play. And that's sort of how it is,
My first big money question, because, we make big money as playwrights. First big money question, if you could have a skill implanted, what skill would you want implanted into your brain, into your being?
That's a good question. Just the ability to do all the things I should do without getting in my own way.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I would like to spend as much time doing my creative pursuits as possible, but to do that, you have to do something that pays the bills and that gets you through day to day. And I just would like to be able to press a button to eliminate things that distract me from the things I have to do.
Wow, that actually sounds like a really great skill to have in this age of technology
Facebook
and media.
Whatever.
Yeah. Which is actually something I wanted to ask you about, because I don't know if you would classify this play, this excerpt, in the realm of sci-fi, but it certainly asks a question about the role that technology could play in our lives, right? The interplay of technology and human beings. Did that ever enter into, as you started working on this play, did that enter into your process, thinking about that question?
I mean, yeah, it's sci-fi in the way that sort of Black Mirror is sci-fi. It takes sort of things that exist and is in the ether and just amping it up a bit, but it's not like completely rewriting the universal science rules. It's just sort of, hey, this technology exists. And there's a type of sci-fi in which there's a new life-changing technology that will change the way everything happens, and then something goes wrong and horror ensues. It's not this play. This play is, there's a new groundbreaking technology that will change everything, and it works exactly as advertised, and horror ensues. Or maybe not horror, but just sort of angst.
Yes. And it's interesting. I see in this piece and in talking to you about this play, the duality of all the improvements we can make with the technology, and in which some of your characters elect to, always strive to be a better version of themselves. But then at the same time, the other end of it is, how far are we willing to go to make ourselves the best? You have a character named Regina, who
runs the company.
Correct.
Life Enhanced, yeah.
Correct. I don't want to give too much away. I'm interested in what lengths will we go to be our best augmented selves.
Yeah. I mean, this play, there's the technology being sold is the ability to alter your own mind, and there are characters in the play who have partaken of the technology a little bit, a touch here and a touch there, or a lot in terms of like a total makeover. They're not the same person. There's a anecdote, I forget where I heard it. Somebody has an axe. One year the head of the axe is broken, so we replace the axe. And the next year the handle of the axe is broken, so we replace the handle. Is that the same axe as you had a couple of years ago?
Ooh.
Or is it different?
Ooh. What do you think?
I would say it's not. It can't be the same thing because every single part of it is different.
Yeah.
But it occupies the same space and utilizes the same function. But in the play, you sort of had people throwing parts of themselves away or locking them up. To one extent or another, and then having to deal with decision making that was in some way a manufactured intelligence overlaid on top of the real intelligence.
So I mentioned sci-fi already, and I know in talking with you and in some of our Play Lab meetings, your love of science fiction, whether on TV or books. What are some of your favorites, and do you draw any inspiration from your favorite TV shows or your favorite TV series, etc.?
In the past 4 years or so, I've kind of not had a conversation with culture at large because I've been raising a kid, and that kind of takes a lot of time, so it hasn't been in a podcast form. I'm barely aware of it. But I can trace a lot of the things I like to 90s comics from Vertigo. When Sandman was there, and then there was all these different comic book concepts that came out from that company. And I like mixing media and taking stuff that's good from one medium and putting them in another. Because I've written about comic book superheroes going into the real world. I've written a screenplay about that. I've written a web series about podcasters. I've written a play about silent comedians. So I like to view one media through the lens of another.
Oh, that's interesting.
And taking what one media is good at and trying to import it to another to see what happens.
Ooh.
So one example that pertains to Repossessed is when you read a graphic novel that was originally a series of individual issues, you sometimes get a story going, and you turn the page after issue 3 of the 6, and you expect that it's going to be a continuation of the story. Instead, it's all right, we're going to take 20 pages to do this tangential thing that is affected by what's going on, but it's not. Like the Sandman. We know you're interested about Dream and what's happening with the key from hell he just took, but we're going to spend 30 pages with these 2 schoolboys who are affected by it. And then And the next month you go back to it, like a bottle episode in a TV series. The way I put Repossessed together, there are a lot of scenes that I just decided if I was curious about how some part of the world I was creating worked, I just wrote that scene, not worrying about whether it fit into a larger narrative. And then I just eventually just put them all together, even though some of them I wouldn't have written if I was outlined it properly and said, here's Z, I'm going to go get from A to Z. Like there's a 10-minute TED Talk in the middle of the play. I kept expecting someone in one of my writing groups to say, what is that doing here? It's not actually doing anything for you, but no one's actually ever said that. So it's remained. I don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward, but
well, I really like that in this excerpt that we recorded, obviously for the podcast. And this isn't giving too much away, but there is an NPR-style interview.
Yeah.
And I had a moment where I felt like there were multiple levels of someone recording an NPR interview for a podcast. And I was like, whoa, I'm having some deja vu here. This is meta. Like we've got multiple levels of media and podcasting and radio. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, part of this was world building. Like if this technology were to exist in the real world, how do we know about it? How do we hear about it? The people rich enough to do it would do it, and then we'd hear about it from the New Yorker article about it, the NPR, congressional hearings, advertising. So every once in a while there's a little interlude where you get some snippet of how the media encounters this, and that just is there. And this also gives a chance for actors to change costumes, because I think there will be a lot of that. Their actors are going to be asked to play versions of themselves from different time periods with not too much time between the scenes, I think. So you got to give some excuse for them to be off stage.
And speaking of stages, Repossessed, I know, is going to be part of a Fresh Ink reading in fall 2017, folks. Make sure you come and see that. Where would you say it is in its process? Like, is this play, do you feel like you're still going to be doing some revisions? Is the next step like
I think so. It's been through the usual writing groups I'm in, and, the Play Lab last year, which was sort of writing group style. But I'm very curious to see what a dramaturg might say about it, just going scene by scene and going through the mechanics of things.
Good.
Because I think there's a lot, like I said, it just sort of is random scenes squished together, which has its charms, but there are practical things, I'm sure, that are going to have to be worked out one way or the other. And pieces that carried a lot of weight in the beginning of writing that are no longer necessary. At the beginning may need some revision or just some editing, be shorter and quicker and faster into the story. Just things like that. So I am very excited to go through the dramaturgy process through Fresh Ink, and the other company that will do a reading will be Pork-Filled Players in Seattle.
That's right.
And it's actually having a sort of informal one with the Flock in Connecticut earlier than both of those.
Excellent. So, folks, if you're in the area and you're listening in on this, try to find some of these readings. See if you can track down some of Greg Lam's work, folks. And speaking of that, now that we have our Boston podcast players, someone's listening in.
Hopefully.
What do you mean, hopefully?
If I figure out how to put it on iTunes correctly.
Oh, we will. And they're listening in, and they're really excited about your excerpt. What's that phone call or that email that you're hoping to get?
Since we're recording all our interviews together, I've been asking people that all day.
Yeah, and now I get to ask you.
Actual answer I have is just, hey, that was very interesting. Send me everything you have.
Ooh, absolutely everything?
Yeah, I just want someone to listen to it, be intrigued by it. And, obviously I want Repossessed to be staged, but I have different things, and it's just a general interest in the things I'm doing, because it's not just this one play. It's me trying to get traction somewhere, and maybe the play that will be the difference is one I haven't started writing yet.
Oh, yeah.
And the other full length play, I wrote the player I uploaded as our Get to Know You play at the very beginning.
A play lab.
A play lab, yeah,
Play lab.
where we first met.
That's right.
Refer back to episode 1.
Yes, Greg.
Is the one about Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, who did a movie together long after their silent film career. Silent films were done. Charlie Chaplin kept making movies, very preachy movies. He went up The Great Dictator, parodied Hitler, and then the last movie he made before his exile from America was Limelight, and he recruited Buster Keaton, the other great comedian of the silent era, who had been kind of irrelevant for a while and making a comeback. That play sort of wondered how that went. And I wrote it in the early aughts, maybe even before 2000, and it just sort of sat because I'm not exactly sure what I can do with it, being public figures and all that. Describing routines that they did. There's a lot of rights issues that I'm not sure about, but
especially movie type.
Yeah, movies and
as well.
Autobiography. I just quote sections of the autobiography, music or dialogue.
Interesting.
But I would love to do something with it, but I'm not sure what is possible. I'd love to get some clarity on that.
Yeah.
Especially because the issues it deals with of artists being politically engaged or just entertaining in a politically dangerous time, it's kind of newly relevant.
Oh no. What do you mean, relevant in 2017, Greg?
I don't know.
One last thing, because we are, of course, Boston podcast players. What brought you to Boston? Have you been here for a while?
Well, I was born in the suburbs, and then I went to school out in the Pacific Northwest. Then I came back to Western Mass to work in theaters after school. And then after did that for a while, I started needing a day job, so I did work in publishing, and that led me back to Boston proper. I've sort of been here ever since.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you are part of our Boston podcast and Boston theater community and ecosystem, as we have said in Play Lab. All right, folks. I think without further ado, you've got to hear this excerpt by Greg Lam of Repossessed.
Repossessed by Greg Lam. The story thus far. We meet a married couple named Rich and Gretchen Warner. They are facing a financial reversal as Rich's startup company has failed and their financial future is in question. However, we see that they remain devoted to each other, determined to keep a sunny outlook on their future together. Rich's lawyer and friend, Ted, calls Rich in for an important meeting.
Should I introduce myself, Mr. Naughton?
Was this conference room taken?
No, Regina, Miss Hastings, Ms.
Regina.
I invited her to meet with us. Regina, this is Rich and Gretchen Warner.
Pleasure to meet you.
The same.
Miss Hastings?
Mr. Warner, charmed.
Regina's from a company you might have heard of. Been in the news a bit lately. Life Enhanced.
I don't think I have.
Life Enhanced? I read about it in the New Yorker a few months ago. Fascinating company.
I'm glad our reputation precedes us, though the article painted us in a bit of an alarmist light.
I'm not familiar.
It's so interesting. They implant skills and experiences into you. Like, if you always wanted to be a great musician, they could upload a virtuoso skill into your head, and then you could play Tchaikovsky at Carnegie Hall.
How about some of Tyler Woods' long game?
In theory, yes. If we could get Mr. Woods to donate it for our company.
Well, while I could use some help here or there, I don't imagine your services come cheaply.
No, it doesn't. Only a very few people can afford our services, especially for the deluxe packages.
Deluxe packages?
That's what we call our full life makeover at Life Enhanced. Instead of adding some small skill subset to you, we can completely refurbish a person's life. Make her a new person. We could take a soldier with PTSD and upload a boring, stress-free life into him. We can change a drug addict into a teetotaler, a porn star into a nun, or vice versa. We can make a transgendered woman forget she was ever a man.
Remarkable. I didn't know you could go that far.
Yes, we don't tend to publicize that. It's a bit far-reaching for some. The only people that really need to know are the prospective customers.
Well, now we get it. Miss Hastings, if you're here to sell your services, I'm afraid we're not in the market. As much as I'd like some help with my golf game, right now our finances aren't in any shape to cooperate. So, thanks for the fantastic pitch, but I have some pressing matters to discuss with my lawyer.
Well, Rich, the thing is, Regina is the pressing matter we have to discuss right now. She's why I asked you here.
I don't understand.
She's not here to sell you on her company's services. Fact is, you've been a client of hers for some time now.
You have?
For 5 years now, Mr. Warner.
You never told me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He didn't know, Mrs. Warner. Our agreement was that he wouldn't be aware of the changes that he requested for himself. It's common for makeovers of this magnitude for the recipient to be unaware that he's had work done. By agreement, Mr. Naughton acted as the monitor and proxy to your situation.
Ted?
It's true, Rich.
This is quite the tale. Not what I expected when you asked us here for a meeting, Ted. So what did I get? It can't be my golf game, I'll tell you that much.
You were actually one of the first buyers of our deluxe packages. A complete life makeover. Seamless integration into your previous life. You wake up one day with a different life and you don't even know it. It was something of a proof of concept for our company, and it succeeded magnificently.
What? What's it? What succeeded?
Your marriage.
Rich and Gretchen look at each other, chilled. We learn that a heartbroken Rich was one of the first clients to undergo a life-enhanced total life makeover, in which all aspects of a new life are implanted into a mind to the extent that he does not realize that aspects of his life are completely manufactured. He pays for a volunteer, a woman he does not know, to have her entire identity remade in order to become his ideal version of his wife. After Rich and Gretchen come to grips with the reality of this situation, Regina reveals that the couple can no longer afford the periodic upkeep that the procedure requires, and that the implants will have to be repossessed by the company. Their minds will revert to that of the total strangers they were before the procedure. As the play goes on, we wander a bit in time and space to see what there is to see. Act 1, Scene 3. Life-Enhanced Labs flashback. The lights turn on. We see Ted and Regina talking to each other in a conference room. A window looks out into another room through one-way glass. Ted is sorting through headshots of women. This scene is set in an earlier time period than the previous scenes. Those scenes should be presented differently than the present-day scenes, visually.
How many more are we going to see?
Candidate 7 is the last we've asked to see today. If you find none of the candidates are adequate, we can recruit more candidates. All part of what our company can offer.
For what we're paying, we'd better be able to see every hot piece of gold digger ass on the eastern seaboard to pick from.
Well, I'm not sure we can promise that, Mr. Naughton. At least not yet. But I think you'll like Candidate 7.
Let's take a look.
Regina presses a button. The lights go up to reveal Gretchen, now dressed only in a sports bra and yoga shorts. Her posture is slouched. Her manner is jittery and youthful. She sways back and forth nervously. She's 5 years younger. There's a sign pinned to her shorts with a number printed on it. 7. She stands blinded by bright lights. Ted studies her through the glass.
Huh. Now, that's a bit of all right.
Is she his type?
She's anyone's type. She's definitely my type.
Regina speaks into a microphone. Her voice is amplified so that Gretchen can hear it.
Good morning.
Gretchen is a bit startled by the sudden noise.
Hi?
Please try to relax. We only want to ask a few questions.
Okay. This is kind of weird.
I know, but please bear with us. Can you restate in your own words what brings you here?
The 49 bus?
No, I meant something a bit different. The procedure we have proposed is quite new, some might say extreme. Definitely life-altering. We want for you to state, for posterity, why you've decided to make yourself a candidate for this.
Well, I don't know. It's exciting. I mean, I dropped out of college to follow my boyfriend across the country. I wound up here, so that didn't last, obviously. Neither has any other relationship. I'm not good at work. I get jobs, I do them, they're fine, but they're just jobs. It's not like I love anything I do.
Do you think becoming altered to become someone's dream wife is better?
I don't know. I'm almost 30 and I have no idea what I want to do with my life. I don't belong. I'd like somewhere that felt like I belonged.
Does it matter that you don't know him?
I don't know. What do you want me to say? You're going to put into my head whatever, right? So what does it matter, as long as his check's clear?
I see.
He's not hideous, right?
In my opinion, he's more than adequate.
I'm sorry, that's too mean. I'm really nervous right now, if you can't tell. I know I don't get to choose the guy. That's not how it works. I know that. When I think about it, if the guy is going to go to the trouble of making me into his dream girl, what are the chances he wouldn't treat me right? Pretty low, right?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I know. It wasn't meant to be answered. It's, what do you call it?
Rhetorical?
That's it. Someone who'll treat me right, no matter what. That's harder to find than you'd think.
Agreed.
Regina turns to Ted.
Anything you'd like to ask her?
Sure.
Ted speaks into the microphone.
Hey, number 7. This is Ted. I'm the guy helping my bud choose a girl to go through the process.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Ted.
Could you turn around?
Gretchen quickly twists to look behind her.
No, I meant turn around. All of you. Slowly.
Gretchen starts to turn.
Let's just get a good long look at what we're working with.
Gretchen gets more and more uncomfortable.
Very nice. Now can you dance a little?
Regina shuts off the microphone.
Mr. Naughton, for God's sake, this isn't a strip club.
Are you serious?
For what we're paying, I'd expect that chick to give me a lap dance with a happy ending. Heck, for what we're paying, I'd expect that from you, too.
Hello? Is this a test? Do I have to dance?
Please finish up, Mr. Naughton.
You're done, sweetheart. You look good to me.
Can I go now?
Yes, thank you, Candidate 7.
Interlude. The play includes interludes between scenes, snippets of media in this world which illustrate how this company and technology interact with society. One of these is this NPR-style interview.
We're back with Regina Hastings, a self-proclaimed renovator of personas from the fascinating company Life in Hands. Now, Regina, some critics have accused your company of violating the nature of human existence. How would you respond to that?
Well, it used to be that we, as a species, had to run for our lives from the things in the wild that would kill us because we didn't know better. Now we know better. I would say that the nature of human existence is the process of improving how we, as a species, learn. Someone out there is learning every skill, having every experience, good or bad. Now we can benefit from that. I want to know how to fix a car, or correctly cook pasta from scratch, or to manage a corporation, or to write a novel. If I can get that from a safe, non-obtrusive outpatient procedure, why should I not?
Even if you didn't earn those experiences?
Earn it. I paid for it.
Act 1, Scene 9. In the present day, Rich and Gretchen wrestle with the consequences of undergoing the reversion process. They reaffirm their devotion to each other, but they worry about what will happen after their implants are removed. At this point in the play, Rich has just undergone the procedure to remove the implants in his mind, while Gretchen will wait until Rich has recovered. Rich is rolled in on a wheelchair by a nurse. He is wearing a hospital gown. His head is bandaged, and he is non-responsive. Gretchen rushes in.
Rich!
She hugs him in his chair. He barely responds.
Rich, my God, can you hear me? Are you all right?
Regina enters casually.
This is normal at this stage, I can assure you.
Rich!
The best thing at this point is usually to give him space.
The best thing for you at this point would be to mind your own business.
Fair enough. I think we can leave them for now, Dana.
Regina and the nurse begin to leave.
Wait.
They stop.
I'm sorry, It's just so trying. I know you're only doing your job. I hope you understand.
Mrs. Warner. So fierce, so loyal, so considerate. just like he wanted.
Gretchen recoils.
Your very good work. One of my favorites.
Regina leaves, motions to the nurse who follows.
Come, Dana.
Oh, that cold fish. If you still had your money, baby, I'd order up some manners to be injected into her skull. God, you look cold. Do you need a blanket?
Ted appears in the doorway.
Knock, knock.
Ted.
Hey there. Just checking in on the victim. Patient.
Rich is doing fine.
Good. Good.
Is there anything else, Ted?
Look, I'm his friend too, you know. I've known him for longer than you have.
I'm quite aware of that, but I'd like to be with my husband now.
Regina said he just needs to sit for a while.
Then I'll sit with him.
Look, it's not easy for me either. Watch your best pal go all flowers for Algernon on you.
Because I know that Rich is in fact your good friend for some reason, I'm refraining from saying what I want to say. I'm fairly certain that after I undergo this procedure myself, I'll be much less accommodating. Once again, is there anything else?
Ted takes a breath.
You know, I always liked you.
What does that mean?
I liked you. You were pretty and all, but it's something in the way you treat Rich. I like you.
Ted, I'm flattered, but it's not the time.
You don't have to do this.
What?
This. Your brain sucked out? He had to, but you don't.
You said he couldn't afford it.
He can't. I could.
Gretchen stands up and faces Ted.
Mr. Naughton?
The way you look at him, you could look at me like that. I'd like that. I think I'd like that very much.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. You're supposed to be his friend.
What? When he wakes up, he'll be the way he was before the brain voodoo, and that wasn't a party, believe me. You're already broke because Rich couldn't hack being the boss, but it doesn't mean you have to go down with the ship.
Disgusting. You are disgusting.
We talked to Regina. I write a few checks. You get a few knobs adjusted, and we're on. They did the hard part already on you. I saw you before, you know. Before you were you.
Get out of here, you pig! Nurse!
Quiet. Gretchen. I'm sorry. Forget I said it. I'm sorry. My kids went to college. My wife and I split, and now what? When you first got with Rich, that thing you had together, it's hard not to be jealous.
Ted, I'm sorry that you're not doing well. I'm truly sorry. I decline your offer with thanks. And no matter what happens to me, I beg you not to try to take advantage of whatever state of mind I might be in. If you are any friend to Rich at all, if you respect me in any way, do not ask this of me. Surely you can find someone else.
All right. Fair enough. Just throwing it out there.
Ted turns to leave.
Tell the big guy I said hi when he comes to.
I will, Mr. Naughton. Goodbye.
Gretchen turns back to Rich, takes his hand.
Oh, Rich. Rich, did you really think that going first would be doing me a kindness? Now that we're here, I don't know if I can take it.
Gretchen catches herself.
No, that's wrong. I can take it. We will get through it.
She takes both his hands.
I, Gretchen Vanderpool, do take you, Richard Warner, as my lawfully wedded husband, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, in good times and bad, as long as we both shall live.
Act 2, Scene 3. Life-enhanced office. In the second act, Rich recovers from his procedure and is shattered by the realization of his own shortcomings and selfishness in asking a total stranger to discard her identity for his desires. Meanwhile, Gretchen searches for any way out of her situation, leading to this confrontation with Regina in her office.
So as you can see, all of our procedures have been followed to a T. You properly consented, as was well documented. You continued to possess our enhancements so long as you were able to afford our maintenance protocol. Now that the decision has been made to halt your subscription, you are undergoing our exit process.
Is there any way you would reconsider? Can we cut a deal somehow?
My dear, there's nothing to reconsider. This is a business transaction. It's always been a business transaction, a service rendered for payment.
But it's our lives.
Technically, according to the contract, it's a life we furnished for you that we allowed you to lease for a period of time.
My God, what are you? How can you look at what I'm going through? You have no idea. You play with people's lives. You have no idea what it's like to know your life is a lie.
My dear Gretchen, who do you think I am?
What do you mean?
What kind of person would I be if I didn't have first-hand experience of our range of products?
You had your own head messed with?
I prefer upgraded. When I agreed to head this company, it made all the sense to make myself the best tool for the job. Business acumen, self-confidence, champion-level debate skills, social observation. I also threw out some nagging moral qualms and desire to raise a family. That would only get in the way of my objectives.
You're not even human.
Please. What's so great about being human?
I thought this company was all your creation. That New Yorker article?
I'm the face of this company, true. But that wasn't always the case. The person who came up with key technologies in the first place has spent the last 12 years in a tropical paradise, while I get to face the slings and arrows of running this mess and partake in wonderful conversations such as this.
Do you like what you've become?
Certainly. But if I didn't, I'd certainly adjust myself to like it and not tell myself about it. Self-doubt is not for people leading billion-dollar corporations, my dear.
Gretchen glares at Regina.
Now, pleasant as this is, are we done here? Or do you want to engage in freshman philosophy debates for another couple of hours?
My husband is a dysfunctional mess right now, and he didn't get nearly the work that I did by all accounts. What's going to happen to me then? Who was I before you did this to me?
Ah, now there's the right question to ask.
There's a lot more of the story to tell, but that would give away perhaps too much. And so we shall call this the end, for now, of Repossessed by Greg Lam. Repossessed was written by Greg Lam. To read Greg's plays, see his profile on the New Play Exchange. Just search for his name, spelled Greglam. Gretchen was played by Lesley Moreau. Ted was played by Alexander Rankine. Regina was played by Grace Trapnell. Rich and other roles were played by Christian Mancinas-Garcia. The stage directions were read by Allyson Lazar. Special thanks to our host, Mary McCullough. Follow us on Twitter at BossPodPlay, BossPodPlay, and on Facebook. Please rate us on iTunes or your podcast player of choice. You can support us on Patreon at BossPodPlay.
Our theme uses music from Snowman by the Neilds. See www.neilds.com for more info about their music.
Playwrights, if you have a script, do not send it to us. We will never have the time to get to it. Steal this podcast idea instead.
On the next episode of Boston Podcast Players, we learn the ancient art of negotiation.
The Roman elders would never agree to working with you, especially with the threat of so many Roman deaths at your hands. You want to use my people's blood now, is that it? Your conquest will never work.
You know nothing of me, Octavia.
Oh, don't I? A woman reared as the next ruler of her country, and when challenged, emerges as the epitome of strength and valor. Have I aimed true?
Strong women breed stronger women. It still does not allow for your predictions of me.
Octavia and Cleopatra by Mara Alyssa Palma. Downloaded on the first Monday of the month.